afternoon, and welcome to the penultimate episode of this EPL season. That means second to last, if you didn't know. But we've got just a few little tidbits to cover before we actually get into the simultaneous action going on this Saturday. But we'll go ahead and get right into it. Starts off with Tottenham and Manchester City. Manchester City, you made this more difficult than it needed to be, really. Going into it, it felt like City was going to breeze through just fine, but Tottenham made you work for it, or maybe you made yourselves work for it more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, nervy match. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. If you haven't seen the match, worth the watch. At least worth the second half of whatever happened in the second half, worth the watch. But Manuel Akanji giving the ball away, leading to a wide open Heung-min Son chance. I mean, I thought it was the Gerrard slip, essentially all over again. And then Stefan Ortega does his best Emi Martinez impression and saves it with his shin/calf. And then several minutes later, we get a penalty, go up 2-0. But I told the person I was watching with, I said, if we win the Premier League, he's going to get a tattoo of the trophy on that calf because he is the reason that we just won. And if you, again, go back, watch it, they show Pep's reaction. He's on the floor. He's beside himself that they might have just lost the league. But yeah, overall, I felt like Tottenham kind of played a game that we weren't expecting them to play. Mm-hmm. Like, they pressed hard, especially in the first half. It was impressive. I think in the second half, they started to get tired. But, yeah, first half, they clearly came to play, and I don't think City was really ready for that.
No, and it could have gone the other way a couple times there in the first half. So City, you make it through the games that you have to if you're going to win the champ. You got to win the games when you're not playing your best. And this was one of those times where City, as we've seen plenty of times throughout this season, they've only lost 3 times this season, which is pretty crazy looking back through it all. They haven't lost since last year, technically. And, winning the games that you're not playing your best is where City is consistent. And, Haaland gets his brace, really cementing himself at the top of the Golden Boot race, even with what Cole Palmer did in the second match that we'll get, one of the other matches we'll get to here. But, yeah, looks like he's going to squeak out another goal. Well, not even squeak out. He'll win by 5 or so goals, probably. But still, it was not as easy and tidy as you would have liked as a City fan going into it. Then we go to the match I just mentioned, Brighton Hove Albion and Chelsea. This was another one. Chelsea, I don't know where this team was the whole season. Maybe they just grew into playing together better, but they pretty much controlled this whole match. 2-1 doesn't tell the story of it. It was a 90+7 Danny Welbeck sort of flukish goal that went in. And other than that, Chelsea was by leaps and bounds well ahead. Am I complaining about 90+7 giving me a perfect pick at 2-1 when I didn't deserve it? I'm not complaining at all. I'm in fact celebrating it as what happened. But it doesn't change the facts of the match.
Yeah, it was Chelsea dominated. Brighton definitely had a lot of possession, especially near the end, but not a lot of quality chances. No. I feel like the goal really came because of the red card in the 88th minute to Reece James. I don't think that goal happens. It just seemed like there was opportunity there that just came about due to a lack of 10 men. It was late in the match. So, maybe a mental lapse there, but 2-1 feels like generous to Brighton's scoreline. Chelsea dominated this.
Yep. And then to a match that did not go the way that any of us thought it would. Manchester United wins 3-2 over Newcastle. This one was an interesting match. United did feel like the better side, but Newcastle was in it for a large part of this match.
Yeah, even watching it, and the stats sort of reflect it, I really felt like Newcastle had better quality chances. and more chances. They just did not convert. And when they finally did to make it 3-2, it was a little bit too late. But yeah, I mean, props to Man U. They came out, looked somewhat organized. They actually looked like a team that wanted to play for something, unlike the last 3 weeks where it felt like we can't get Champions League, so we might as well just throw the season down the drain. But maybe it's because the manager they like might be leaving, might get fired, so they're trying to save his job. I don't know, but Højlund scored, and he had been in a drought. Diallo scores. Mainu scores. I mean, just some random dudes scoring in this one. So if you're a Man U fan, you feel good about ending the season, depending on how match week 38 goes on a high note. But, I mean, it was a good win. It was a good last home win. And now Old Trafford I've heard, is a waterfall due to some rain issues. But they figured it out. Kudos to them. Did not see it coming, though.
Well, for that extra match day we had there, that ended up with both of us going 2-1. I, however, did better for the units because I did have that perfect pick there for Brighton and Chelsea. But that, I mean, it's still not even close. I mean, I've now gotten within 80 units of you for the Premier League. The only thing that keeps my score somewhat respectable is the Champions League stuff that I've done. But we will go ahead and move on from that to match day 38. So before we get into it, we'll go ahead and just kind of break down what's still at play here. Technically, Luton Town is not yet relegated. Technically. But the goal difference between them and Nottingham Forest is 11 goals. So the odds of that flipping are rather slim, especially considering Nottingham is playing Burnley. I don't think Burnley's gotten any. I think they beat somebody 3-0 this season. They beat Sheffield 4-1. I think that's probably their best goal difference this season, which would leave 8 goals for Luton Town to get, and they have not shown the capability of doing that this season. Especially when they're playing Fulham. Fulham can give up goals. But other than that, there's some contention around 10th if you wanted to finish top 10. We've got technically 4 teams in play for that.
Your Wolves could do it.
Yeah. Hey, we'll talk about my Wolves here in a minute. And then, of course, the title race is still ongoing with City and Arsenal. Villa has locked in the Champions League 4th. Liverpool's locked into 3rd. Tottenham is in 5th. However, if they continue their poor performance and Chelsea continues winning, they may fall out of Europa League contention here because they only have 3. I mean, we were talking about Tottenham maybe overcoming Aston Villa these past couple weeks, but they just kept on losing. They just kept on losing and Chelsea winning. So now Chelsea's only 3 points out of 5th and maybe being able to go to the Europa League next year as opposed to the what is it again? The Continental Championship? Conference
League.
Conference League.
ECL.
The Conference League. And also
not the Confederation Cup.
The Confederation Cup of Conference Champion of the continent. I think that's what it is. And Newcastle could also leap up into that Conference League. There it is. Conference League if they can beat Brentford. And Chelsea straight up loses to the Cherries, which doesn't seem super likely. But we'll go ahead and start off with, we'll take them in order as they are listed on the Premier League website. I don't know how they choose this order. If it's, okay, I think I figured it out looking at it now. It's alphabetical by home team is how they've ordered it here. So Arsenal hosting Everton is the first one up. One of these title contention matches. Let's do it this way, a little bit different. We'll take Arsenal and Everton and Man City and West Ham at the same time. So I have these both, because they're all Epic Sounders, I have these both ending as 2-2 draws. With it being very nervy for Man City. I think that West Ham goes up early and tries to play spoiler here, and Arsenal goes up early. But Everton claws its way back and City claws its way back, and it ends up 2-2 draws on both accounts. Now, is this a units play? I won't say it's not. I will not say it is not a units play, but I think it would also be very fun.
You know, I'm going to disagree with you. I think, obviously, again, totally unbiased. But with all the bias in the world, I think Man City is going to win. West Ham, they just got their big win last week for David Moyes. City, I think Tottenham was that game they had to get the hump over. So I'm going a 3-1 City win. I do agree that West Ham might get an early goal. But I think City I think they have it in them. Arsenal, I also think, take a win. I think they end up winning 2-1. I think that one's pretty nervy too. But both teams, Everton and West Ham, both love to sit back, especially against these types of teams, take it on defense, and then have a quick counterattack. So I really could see either of these games going somewhere. But, man, I mean, Arsenal and City are about as hot as any team has been in a run-in before. Maybe minus City last year, but it's hard to see either of them losing at home on the last day.
It would certainly be shocking. But we'll go ahead and move from those two to one of the ones that doesn't... Well, Newcastle does matter. Brentford versus Newcastle is the next one up. I have it going as 2-1 to Brentford. I think Newcastle... They'll feel let down by the midweek action, and I don't know. Is the Conference League that much of a big deal? Is that right? Conference League? I can't remember now. That's how much I care about it. But I think it goes 2-1 to Brentford, wrapping up at G-Tech, nice and tidy with a win.
Yeah, I think it goes 2-2. And that's mainly because Newcastle, I think, will be a little rattled from losing to Man U in the fashion they did. And Brentford, I think they've been playing pretty well. I think they have the stuff to compete with a team like Newcastle. I think they might want to be getting 40 points. I don't know. That's kind of like a niche point to get when you're below. It's like, 40 points. That was great for us. So I think they get 40. I think it goes 2-2. This game doesn't really mean anything for either team. Newcastle maybe, but like you said, is it really worth European football if it's the third division of it?
Yeah.
So I think 2-2.
2-2. And then to two teams that we just watched, Brighton, Hove Albion, and Manchester United. How do you think this one goes? I mean, Man U is not playing for anything because of the goal difference there. And Brighton's playing for even less because I guess they're playing to stay up in 10th. But is that much of anything?
Honestly, I think this one goes 4-1 Man U. I think Man U really wants to end on a high note. They just beat Newcastle. Mm-hmm. They're feeling good. Ten Hag, as much as any game, will probably start the guys he wants to start and just say, go have fun. There's nothing to play for, except maybe if you don't want to be transferred, play well. But I think that they get it done because I think Brighton, I don't think they care where they finish at this point, and they haven't really been – they've had a couple of good defensive games, but I think this one they get thrashed quite a bit.
I've got it as 4-2, so I'm kind of in that same vein as you, that this is just going to be a fun match. They let the guys go. Brighton, maybe they want to put up some sort of fight for the home fans, but Amex has not been great to them this season. So, United, I think that they're going to take this one handily. Then to what was going to be such a fun match. Burnley and Nottingham. It was supposed to be the knockout match to see who's going to stay up. Ends up that Burnley's not a good team or whatever, and they're out of contention entirely. However, I think they take it 3-0 over Nottingham Forest because Burnley. Like we've said, I think that they may be the closest team to being able to stay up from the three that are going right back down. But I think that they make a step in the right direction here against a team that technically isn't as bad as they currently are because they had a point deduction. Nottingham Forest, they've lost 4 points from the spending rules. So they're not. Them being in this position is unfortunate already. But Burnley will take advantage of a Nottingham Forest who is fully relieved at this point. Like they They don't have to. They just can't lose like 5-0 is what they can't do.
I have a different frame of thinking when it comes to this. I think Nottingham doesn't want to be known as the team that only stayed up because of goal difference. I think when people look back at the table, they want people to see that they survived, clearing away with a few games. I think they take it 3-1. I think their players come out and they really they try their hardest. Burnley, I think, for about 11 match weeks, were steamrolling through. They felt confident. No team, once they've been relegated, at least in my memory, has come back the next week and been like, all right, we're going to smack this other. We feel great about spoiling it. I don't see that happening. I think they're just going to be looking towards next season anyway. So I'm going 3-1 Nottingham.
That is a reasonable take on this one here. Then we go to Chelsea hosting Bournemouth. Chelsea, like we said, is playing to maybe get into the Europa League. Do you think that Bournemouth puts up much of a fight there at Chelsea's home turf?
If there's any team that is going to put up a lot of goals in the last match week, it's going to be Chelsea. Mm-hmm. I have this one as 5-2.
Wow.
With all their young guys, with how they're playing right now, Bournemouth is not known as a defensive juggernaut. They can score, and I think Chelsea leaks in goals. So I think it'll be 5-2. But again, Chelsea wants it more than Bournemouth. Bournemouth doesn't really care where they finish. They're safe. So I think 5-2 feels – I just got that feeling, 5-2.
I have it as 4-1. So, we're on the same wavelength here that outside of the top two teams of the table, Chelsea is just as hot as anyone else. Like, the only other team in contention is Crystal Palace. For just like the top performers here, and I guess Everton's been playing rather well, but their level of competition has not been as high. They did beat Liverpool 2-0, but that's a rivalry match, so you can't count that at the same level. But yeah, I think Chelsea has shown us the potential for what they can be next year, and we'll see if they can wrap it up with a good victory here. Both of us certainly think so. Speaking of that, Crystal Palace. They are favorites against number 4 Aston Villa, actually, at home here to wrap up the season. That just speaks to how much they are clicking as an offensive unit. Do you think that it carries through?
Oh, absolutely. I think Aston Villa, City gave them the Champions League spot. They were drinking till 7 a.m. the next day. So I don't think they even know what's going to happen, nor do they care. They have locked it in. It wouldn't shock me if they start off playing their starters and at halftime they take off 4 or 5 of the important guys. Just we don't want you hurt. A torn ACL would be terrible. So it wouldn't shock me if they play a different lineup, pull some guys at halftime, because they don't care. They've got what they want. It really doesn't matter. It's more of a stat grab game anyway. I think Crystal Palace takes it 3-1 because they're hot and because Aston Villa is already celebrating the end of the season. So it's a perfect storm for Palace to be able to come in here, routine win, secure top 10, and get ready for next season.
Did I get a targeted ad on X from Aston Villa celebrating that they're going to be in the Champions League next season? Possibly I did. So you've got a point there with Aston Villa maybe not being at 100% non-inebriated status going into this match here.
Physically, spiritually, they're not going to be there on Sunday. So Crystal Palace, I go ahead and lock that in.
Lock it in.
Lock of the weekend.
I'll be honest, I've got it 1-1 as a unit play. I've got it 1-1 as a unit play. I want to get those units. I added up all my needs. I could get 58 units if I can hit all of my picks. That's without them being perfect. So, a couple of these go perfect picks.
So why not this weekend?
Why not this weekend? Give me some perfect picks. Maybe I could catch you fully, Who knows? I got some in here that are worth 14. One of them I think is actually coming up right now. Liverpool and my Wolves. This one is bold. I will say it is bold. I will say it is irrational and not a good pick at all. It is 2-0 Wolves over Liverpool. Liverpool has been tuned out, I feel like, these last 4 weeks since that loss against Everton. They have just they haven't cared. They've been sulking, basically, is what it's felt like. And I think my Wolves go into their home place and take away all the joy they have left. I think that's how this one goes, and it'll be a glorious, glorious day at Anfield for my Wolves. I'll get a Hwang Hee-chan goal, a Cunha goal, and both of them assisted by Pablo Sarabia. Let's go with that.
I would love to agree with you.
It would be so nice.
But as with last week, when it was David Moyes' last game, this is Jurgen Klopp's last match, and the realization is now hitting Xander. Liverpool will, in fact, win 5-0 in this match. I don't think Wolves have a chance. Jurgen Klopp, I saw a picture of him alone in the stadium, taking in the scene. It wouldn't shock me if he puts on a jersey and he gets out there. Just for old time's sake, play right back. But, yeah, I think Liverpool steamrolls it. I think Salah might get a hat trick. I think it'll be one of those games where they play just out of this world just to send off their manager in the right way. So I have it 5-0.
Listen, I'm a man. I'll admit when I make a mistake. I totally spaced on that thought.
After all of the Klopp out talk in the fall, he's now leaving, and you don't even.
I don't even remember that he's leaving. That's only bad. And side note, I saw my Wolves are trying to put up for a vote the future of VAR in the Premier League.
And I think 17 of the teams voted to keep it. So it was a good effort.
It was a quick vote. It's like, hey, you guys still want to keep VAR? It really hurt us this year. And yes, we do, because it helped us and hurt you. So, my Wolves, they're so threatening. But yeah, we'll move on to the next one, which is, this one I'm not going to tune into. I'll be honest, this one, not interested in it. Luton Town hosts Fulham at Kenilworth Road. I'll call it the last match at Kenilworth Road in the Premier League in quite a while. We'll see if they're back up next year. This one, I don't know. What do you think happens here?
I think Luton take it. I think they take it 2-1. I think, again, Fulham, not really much to play for. They're in 14th. They could get up to 12th if Palace and Wolves both lose, but not much to play for. I think Luton have kind of rode the fact that their fans have been cheering loudly at home. I think it was last match week, their fans who went to the away fixture held up a sign that said, "We still love you." So the emotion is there.
That's nice.
For Luton to go and just get that Premier League home victory, to give them that momentum. So I think, 2-1 Luton. And I think it's going to be a late winner, 93rd minute. Kenilworth Road erupts. Maybe so much so that they tear the actual stadium down with their cheering. I don't know, but I think they take it in a thriller. It'll be the most exciting match of the weekend.
Well, wow. You've got a couple 5-2 matches or 5-0 matches. That's
but that's a lot of goals. It doesn't mean it's exciting.
I think Fulham takes it 4-1. I think that Fulham, they're a team this season that will randomly pop off for 5 goals, 3 goals, 4 goals. I think this is one of those times. Luton Town, they're relegated in everything but name. Oh, I cannot remember that. It's all over but the dancing. Nope, that's not it. I can't remember. This is the same idiom I tried to come up with in the last episode. Apparently, I failed at it again. It's over and the fat lady is singing for Luton Town. We'll go with that direction. And Fulham is that fattest of fat ladies, putting in 4 by them. I think that Jedi gets an assist. Good old Auntie. What is that? Jedi gets an assist. That's Anthony Robinson, right?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I got it, right? I know who our players are.
Anthony Robinson.
Anthony Robinson, Jedi is his tag on the X-Files. Anyways, we already covered Man City and West Ham, which just leaves Sheffield United and Tottenham. I've got this as a tidy 5-0 victory for Tottenham. Just a weird drubbing. I saw the first post-game interview I've ever seen of Postecoglou. Didn't really put together that he was from New Zealand. So his name is Postacoglu. Feels like he should be from a different place than New Zealand. But you know what? I can just take it my New Zealand accent and do it a little bit. Postacoglu takes this one 5-0.
Yeah, this won't be the highest scoring game of the season, but I think it'll get close. I think it goes 7-1, Tottenham over Sheffield. Because Sheffield, I mean, they stink. Tottenham, I mean, I think this will be their revenge game. Like, this will be their rebound after they just broke up with the Champions League. Because they're going to need one. But, it's not going to be pretty for Sheffield. I think Son gets a hat trick. Richarlison might get a hat trick.
Wow.
Postacoglu might get a hat trick. I don't even know. But it's going to be ugly.
Is this both of us just trying to give Sheffield United the worst goal difference ever in Premier League history? Is that what's going on here?
They're so close. They might as well take it on their chin for us. I think that would be what they need to do.
They are really bad. I'm happy you guys got up here, but you are very bad at this soccer thing. Go down, figure it out, come back up later. Maybe. We'll see. Anyway, that brings us to the end of match day, the day that will be match day 38. Criminally. That'll bring us to the end of what will be match day 38. And before we get out of here, we do have to review our trivia question, which, boy, gotta tell you, wait. It is something about the last time, the closest Premier League finish ever. It was something along those lines, right?
Yeah, it was which year was the closest Premier League title race ender ever.
And we're looking for the year of it. So go ahead and put in your timestamp right now. Lock it in. My guess is I don't have one. 2018.
No, it's the first Premier League title that City ever captured. 2011-2012.
Of course.
It's so far.
Of course.
Yeah, it was not only the closest, but City win on goal difference thanks to a 90 plus 5-minute goal from Sergio Aguero. And I'm going to be right back to show the camera.
Oh boy, we've got props for this episode. This is a first here.
No, I have the frame of the Sergio Aguero goal. Down here, it might not be very visible, but it has all the players. Has the goal. This right here is the closest Premier League title race ever. City has been close, though. Within 1 point, like this year with Arsenal, it'll be again. I think it'll be the 5th time it's been within 1 point. So there have been really close ones, but none as close as the literal 30 seconds before the whistle is blown win on goal difference against their rivals, Man United. So
I can't believe I didn't think about that. That is disappointing.
The question was timely, but I also wanted to brag a little bit about City winning.
Listen,
and now we could break the record again with 4 straight. First team ever to win 4 straight Premier League titles.
That's right. That is what you are chasing currently. I mean, is it like the best sports highlight that you see on a regular basis? Like, does it still send chills on your spine? Yeah, it does. And like, I'm not a directly affiliated fan. It's a crazy experience. I mean, it's similar to that in like the LeBron James chase down dunk of Iguodala in, what was that, that was the game. Was that game 7 that happened?
I think that was game 6.
Game 6, but it was to come back.
To get to game 7 and they won.
Yeah. It was game 6, and it was the 3-1 comeback in Cleveland against the Golden State Warriors, which were that was the 83 and 19 season, I think, for them, the 18-12 season.
73 and 9.
90 billion and 24. I think that's what it was. 73 and 9.
Best record ever, and they couldn't get it done.
Couldn't pull it off against LeBron. But this is not a basketball.
This is a soccer podcast.
This is a basketball podcast.
We'll start our basketball one next season.
Nah. Listen, are my Pacers pretty decent? Yeah, we are. We're in like the semifinals. How are we doing against the Knicks? We'll see. I mean, we'll see. We're not currently winning the series, but maybe we can. Anyways, that wraps it up for here. Until we see you again, why don't you go ahead and grab your coffee, watch your soccer, and we'll see you on the other side. We're done this one. Farvel.